back out in the garage, and as you can see, I got everything kind of cleaned up here. It's looking a little bit more like a motorcycle. I got the frame areas where I was working on the new motor mount stuff. I got that all sprayed up, looking pretty good. And today's going to be kind of a bunch of randomness because that's kind of what we have to work with. As got to start like laying stuff out, kind of seeing what's going to fit, what's got to be rerouted. I got to move some grounds around, and so it's gonna be a lot of tinkering. So I might say I have a plan of things I'm gonna try to do, but it could be just completely out of order. But to start with, I got to get the mock-up motor back in there, which you've seen me do. No big deal. We'll just get it in, and then I got something hanging. Anyway, yeah, I'm gonna try to get some of the wiring and plumbing kind of laid back, sort of where it's got to go. And I'd really like to maybe get the plenum and the throttle bodies kind of fit. I'm gonna have to make some intake boots, kind of cut them funny, because the spacing's not dead nuts on, but it's close enough that that's gonna drive me nuts. It's close enough that I feel like I can make it work, and actually I'm gonna make it work regardless of what it takes to do it. So that's kind of where we're at. And then yeah, we just got to kind of address issues as they come up for any other like fitment or just interference stuff. But for now, let's get going on just kind of laying some stuff out. Also, as you can see, I've got way too many 1000 parts laying around. This is how the motor came apart when I took it apart last. I got to start disassembling some of these little things. I got to clean this up. I'm losing bench space to a motor I don't even have anymore. So throughout the video, I might be putting some stuff away. So I've been at it for a couple hours here, just kind of laying things out. For the most part, my my harness as I made it, I didn't really have to lengthen or shorten anything other than a couple grounds on that side. Before, everything used to kind of run on the inside of the frame next to the motor. There was room with the 1000 motor in there. So now everything's kind of going external, which I like, because now that motor is completely, you know, there's nothing wrapped around it other than what you see here, because there's stuff laying on there because I don't have throttle bodies or nothing on it yet. But I got the wiring routed up through the tail for the taillight plug and the turn signals and all that business. There's a little light that goes under here. And then I got everything routed for the left side, is all kind of tucked in. Comes down through here, misses the fairing mount. So this blue tape I used to mark when the fairing is on the bike, and there's those like radiator vents on the side. The fairing comes to here. So I routed everything so you don't see it looking through the side of the bike. But what all this is there's a tire temp sensor, oil temp sensor, the shift solenoid, this one here. There's the fuel pump wiring and the shock sensor. That's what all runs down through here. So it's all kind of tidied up against the frame here. Got the crankcase vent, which I'll have to hook this up. I don't have any of these covers or nothing I don't actually have a motor yet. So this should probably kind of fall in place with where I need it to be. What else we got? There's the hose for the shifter. Kind of mocked that up where it's going to go. The hydraulic hose for the clutch. That'll kind of fall pretty much into the same area. This is the oil temp that runs down kind of past the like water pump area, and then it'll go into the oil pan on the backside in this area. What else we got? O2 sensor will get plugged in. There's a little bit of wiring that's kind of laying just on the side here. So it just got there's two throttle cables, vacuum hose for the boost reference and the ECU, O2 wiring, and then we got like coolant temp, gear position, and crank trigger. This side over here we got I don't even remember at this point. It's throttle position, injector harness, and I don't know what that one was. Oh, that's the that's on the throttle body, so I can dig throttle bodies out later. It's been so long since I had this thing apart. This side we have battery box. I got a couple grounds I got to finish. I got to go get a couple connectors, a couple terminals. I don't have the right size terminal I need, but everything's routed kind of how it used to. Again, I use tape to mark the fairing. This is crankcase pressure and fuel pressure lines run up to my sensors up there. And then the only braided line on the bike is, well, they're all braided, but the only one that's not jacketed is the oil pressure line. I'm going to swap this out for a nice black one like the rest of them. This is just what I had at the time I plumbed it, and it's just kind of lived on the bike ever since. But everything's kind of fallen in place really nice. It's taken me longer to do than I originally thought. Like I said, I start out with this big plan of what I want to do or get done, and we get detoured. I was actually cleaning up the shop a little bit and putzing around, but I'm really liking how everything's kind of fallen in place. Like, see, I got coil harness is going to work, injector harness is going to work fine. So I'm really not having to do any mods to the wiring. The only thing on this motor that'll be different than the 1000 is the crank trigger setup, and the rest of the wiring all is going to be pretty much identical. I still would like to, I'm going to go inside and get some lunch, but I still want to get the throttle bodies on yet today, hopefully, and just start mocking stuff up. I got one interference problem I'm going to have, not sure of a solution yet. I got an idea, but the charge tube, there's no room. I used to run it over the top of the valve cover down through the frame here. Well, there's no room there now. So I'm probably going to end up, when I get the plenum on here, I'm probably going to consider some kind of option of running over to this, running through the frame here, kind of like the busa guys do a lot of times anyways. Problem is that when this comes out of the frame, this is like my battery area. So I'm not opposed to moving this, but this whole thing kind of was such a nice layout because when I wanted to change batteries, they're just bang right there. And the other side has the whole electrical panel on it. So I don't really know if I can move them over there. So I'm debating putting batteries maybe in the tail somewhere that I could change them out underneath, like do a quick change, plug in, plug out back here. That's a project for another day. For now, I just want to get more stuff mocked up and in position. And then I really got to get working on actually getting my motor, like getting and buying a motor for this bike. But anyway, I'm going to eat, then we'll work on it a little more after I get some lunch. I am going to wrap it up for this evening. I'm thinking this is pretty good progress for the day. We've already seen how I got everything laid out, how the wiring kind of fell in place. Everything's working out pretty good. And that is a set of, those are my old 1000 throttle bodies and plenum on a busa motor. It works. I got the tie downs for the plenum in place. Throttle cables are hooked up. Vacuum hoses are hooked up. I'm just double checking that everything is going to fall back in place. I'm kind of hooking it up like I'm getting ready to run it, and then we'll disassemble it and I'll figure out the process for everything, how it's going to lay when I take it apart. But I think because of how I routed everything externally, besides anything, any sensors that are actually on the motor, like the temp sensor, throttle position, gear position and stuff all land in here, crank pickup all lands in here. Those all easily just flop out of the way. Everything else stays out of the way. So I'm pretty happy with how this is all fallen in place. I'm going to start working on it. I'm going to get the windscreen back on it. I already mocked up or I shouldn't say mocked up. I already put the tank shell on. That fits, clears everything, because the plenum is in a slightly different position. It's a little more rear and up. And I think that's just because of how much bigger the motor is. But yeah, I'm really happy with how this is going. So we got a few more loose ends. I got a few lines are still just teed together because I can still, because it's been sitting, there's just race gas in here right now. I can turn the pump on and I can circulate the system and just kind of keep everything moving. But those are still teed together. I'm not going to worry about connecting them up because this stuff is all falling in pretty much place where it was with the 1000 motor. Where, like, what's the word I'm looking for? Dimensionally, I guess would be the word I'm looking for. Dimensionally, this motor isn't a ton different than the 1000. So it's not like I'm putting a Ford motor in a Chevy or something like that. It's still a Suzuki motorcycle motor. Everything is foundationally the same. It's just maybe a little more this way, that way, whatever. But that all kind of landed really close back to where it was, so I don't have to worry about fuel lines are not going to be an issue. And yeah, it's good to see progress. This thing sat way too long over the winter. question whether or not I even wanted to put a motorcycle together after a while. But projects like this make me realize how much I do enjoy doing this stuff. So that's it for, I guess it'll be the third episode of the little project SCUD going on here. Well, I got a exhaust flange coming, an unused flange with spigots, so I can start making a header. I got that coming. And then, yeah, we kind of got to play around with turbo placement. And then once I got the turbo situated, header built, then we're going to start sweating the charge tube. But that's just connecting point A and point B to make it work. If I got to move where the batteries land, then so be it. Maybe I'll find a better spot or something I'm not just thinking of currently. I'll find something something better. But for now, I'm happy with how this is all working out. This could possibly be, I won't say easy, because cutting the frame and stuff was in depth, not hard, just in depth with the fit and the finish and getting it right, and the motor going in and out and making sure the clearances are right and everything's squared up and centered and measuring. And it's involved. None of it's hard if you take your time. This is not an impossible project. I'm not a smart person, but this could be one of the easiest swaps you can do, especially considering I'm reusing a 1000 throttle body in plenum because of, well, money, basically, because I don't want to buy another set of throttle bodies. You can see my thumb. I'm counting with my hand. I don't want to buy another set of throttle bodies. I don't want to buy another set of injectors. I just bought those injectors. That wasn't a cheap date. And I don't want to buy another plenum. I already know what these parts are capable of making for power. They're just going on a slightly bigger motor. If this motor only makes the same amount of power as it made as a 1000, that's still a win for me. I'm not doing this busa motor because I'm trying to build a busa with a 1000 frame that's just a ton lighter, and I'm not doing it because I want to build some monster motor. I'm doing it because 1000 motors are getting harder and harder to come by parts to save them and make them live with any kind of big power level. I am not going to have 5 motors in the trailer at every event we go to. This busa motor, if I can put a solid motor together and just not lean on it as hard and just run even close to what I was running before, that is a win in my book. I just want to make laps. If I never win another race in my life, I'll be happy, because I'm going to be out making laps. And it's a cool project I built in a garage. So stay tuned. We'll see how this thing all falls together.